Since we last talked, this is the beginning of, I think, my 5th or 6th month at the CEA. Work has changed and there's always new things coming my way. On September 9th, the president gave a speech of a lengthy plan to sort of combat the ongoing risks of the COVID-19 pandemic. And one of the aspects of that plan was to require employers with 100 or more employees to either require vaccination among their employees or subject them to weekly testing. And this was through the authority of an organization called OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration within the Department of Labor. When I was told that I would be working on this project, I had to go to the OSHA website and learn about its jurisdiction and authority and try to understand under what authority this vaccine mandate would fall. And of course, there are so many considerations that go into this, including, legal considerations, ethical considerations, but there's also economic considerations. And that's where the CEA was able to play a part. And at first, I thought, I really know nothing about vaccine mandates, and there was nothing that I could go read a manual on that was going to tell me how to sort of think about this new topic. And so I had to really rely on more basic economic principles and bring those to the table in these discussions. Essentially, you want the regulation to just be as strong as possible and bring together as many people that have knowledge about the potential ramifications of this standard into these discussions so that it will uphold potential legal challenges. The first question is really, how do you assess grave danger and necessity? And then, of course, feasibility. So from a grave danger standpoint, you want to be able to know how many deaths and hospitalizations would be averted from the emergency temporary standard, and potentially other benefits that may accrue as a result of the standard. We have very good information, thanks to the CDC, of just how many people are vaccinated in the US. What we don't have is how many people are vaccinated at firms with 100 or more employees, for example. And, we can try to use the best available information to try to answer these questions. But ultimately, the job of the whole government and kind of trying to put this rule together is to bring together the best evidence there is on these questions so that we can have as accurate as possible estimates of the grave danger that's imposed by COVID-19. So a lot of questions kind of come down to CEA. There is a large desire to just understand how COVID is affecting the economy and how vaccinations can sort of mitigate the impact of COVID on the economy. It's been an ongoing effort at the CEA to try to see if there is data available and ways to model it that would help us understand just how big the effect of COVID on the economy is, and how will we gauge whether we're on the other side of this pandemic. These kinds of very topical and timely issues are things that the CEA is involved in across the board, not just in the healthcare sector, which is where I'm spending most of my time, but also in other areas like labor markets and other forms of social insurance and so on. One of the things that I definitely have learned is just how much policy happens through both regulation and implementation of policies. I got a first-hand look at that through the OSHA process, how much difference regulation can make. Of course, I always knew that political considerations are important in policymaking, but it can be somewhat frustrating for sure that there are any other considerations besides economics that should matter. I think there's a glass half full, half empty way to think about that. Maybe you think policy would be so much better if we all just followed the economics. But on the other hand, at least it's good that economics really does have a seat at the table, as opposed to just we're all, writing our papers and no one is reading them.